What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Lost Records Journal Side B of our two-part interview with Michel Koch and Luc Baghadoust, the studio creative director and also the studio executive producer at Don't Nod Montreal, Lost Records Bloom Rage. Obviously, I'm one of your hosts, Adnan. My co-host Adam is here. Adam, you here?
I'm here. God, I'm so excited for you to see this side. Just this side though. But I'm so pumped, dude.
Yes, you are pumped. Everyone's pumped for seeing Sides. And obviously, just a reminder as well, Side A is now available on podcast services and YouTube. We've split this interview into two parts because we didn't expect to have 2 hours with Michel and Luc, but we did. And we are greatly appreciative of how much time they gave us. And we decided to effectively split the interview into two parts just so you can get it at a sooner rate. We will be uploading the full version at a later date as well, but it's just so you can get access to the content. So obviously, go and check out Side A. It's on podcast services. And also you can check Side B out now as well. And before obviously we start as well, please do consider dropping subscribe on the channel, turn notifications, like the video, share your friends. We're almost at 2,100 subscribers. So if you can help us get us there, that's amazing. And Lost Records Journal is available on all podcast services. So we're available on Spotify with the video version, Apple Podcast, available on all RSS feeds. So go and check us out there, go and rate us, go and download us, get instant access to the episodes as soon as they become available. But with that said, here you go. Enjoy Side B with Michel Koch and Luc Baghadoust on the Lost Records Journal.
Get your ear holes ready.
That's getting caught.
Aww. So I have a follow-up question to that. Talking about placements of settings and all this. So I have a gripe to pick with you, Michel, and also Luc, because as we were all like investigating of like the different pictures and where it's all going, right? And I'm like saying like, man, this feels like my childhood home of Philadelphia. And then Luc takes a little vacation to Philadelphia, and I'm thinking, oh man, we're going to take place in Philly, in my hometown. Michel, it was not taking place in Philadelphia. So my question, my question is, why do you hate me? And are you interested in making a setting in Philadelphia?
So why do I hate you? I don't know, but I don't think I do. And just to be perfectly honest, for the setting, when we worked on Life is Strange, the setting was like, oh, we loved Twin Peaks, we loved X-Files, we loved the TV show shot in the Pacific Northwest, and we happened to add one trip in the US where we visited, and oh, it's so cool. Let's play the game here. Makes sense. And for Lost Records, we actually hesitated at the beginning to have it happen again in the Pacific Northwest, but there was this idea to be slightly different. And then since we moved to Montreal with Luc, with the team, we were looking like, okay, I still love to have a body of water, like an ocean, but the Great Lakes are really cool because they are like small oceans, fake oceans, something that would feel even more, I don't know, to work on a small town setting where you have an endless summer, where you don't know what to do with your friends in a small town that is quite boring. If it was the ocean, it's less boring. I mean, the ocean is cool. It's really cool to live on the shore of the ocean.
Yeah.
But living on the shore of a Great Lake, actually, it's still cool, but it's less cool. Feels like it's a bit fun. More.
Yeah.
It's like your fake ocean that you have for your summer, so it's not as nice, but it's still allowed for going to the wilderness, doing a lot of natural visual vistas that we wanted to do. So it felt like a nice setting. And then looking at trying to find some locations, we found like the Upper Peninsula from Michigan had a lot of really cool history linked to the natives that were there, to how it's a very small peninsula inside the lake. A lot of the setting was cool. We read those stories about a lot of copper mining into this area, which helped us to think, oh yeah, with the abyss, with a hole in the ground, it can be linked to the miner back then. So it helped us to figure out that we love this setting, and it brought us some nice images and ideas for the setting. So why not Philly? I think it was too big of a town. We could have maybe find a small town next to Philadelphia. I don't know, but we still wanted a lake. So
I was there for a Red Hot Chili Peppers concert that my wife gifted me for my birthday. It was not like at all for the game. And I think if you want to investigate and stalk, social network to it will be more like if you see Michel and Vernon going somewhere and there's not an event like not a PAX or a GDC or something like that, they go to a random place. But both of them, this could lead to clues to another game, I think.
Yeah. So if I see
You need to be
Michel going
careful.
into Philadelphia, I'll be like, okay, just stay out of North Philly, but then you'll be safe. Yeah. Okay.
Because he hates you, he will go there just to tease you, but the game won't be there.
I should do that. Yeah.
I'll picture the Liberty Bell and just like nothing else. I'm like, great, here we go.
I mean, you might have seen on my Instagram a few years ago, I was in Maine, but it was mostly because I like Stephen King. So yeah.
You were born in the wrong.
Just going to Maine.
Wrong state, Adam. It's not going to happen. So I'm going to move you into this section as well, Michel, and bear with me with this as well. And same with you, Luc. I'd love to hear your perspective because obviously, when I played Life is Strange for the first time, I remember one of the things that really stood out for me was with the way Max walks. I was like, that's interesting how she walks. Many years later, I realized why she walks like that. Having spoken to a lot of the actors that you worked on that, obviously Serena, Gabrielle, they talked very highly of you, but Serena said that she walked in a certain way and she learned that. And obviously with Lost Records, you bring in a really diverse, group of people who play the game. And big one, obviously, when we were talking about to Olivia Lepore, we were asking about, do you think Swann has some neurodivergent traits? Because some people do feel that with Swann. Obviously, we know that there's an introvert part of her, which you've obviously talked about in interviews. And then even more recently, I've seen some discourse around it on Reddit and other places where people project their ADHD experiences with Nora, for example, because she has, she acts in a certain kind of way. I'm just curious, any clarification on, is there any neurodivergence in any of these characters? Was there any kind of thought process with that? Because obviously a lot of people attach themselves to Max and they really saw that with the hints of neurodivergence in the game. I'm just curious if there was anything in Lost Records, or is it just, do you think people are really relating to these characters because they are very personal?
No, I don't know how to easily answer to that, but I've seen those for Max, for Swann, for Nora, and I don't really want to disappoint people because I'm pretty sure that they are part true, but it has never been fully. Sorry, I'm looking for a word I'm not finding. It has never been fully intentional, but I feel like those characters are also a lot linked to, especially Max and Swann. They are, I would say, very close to myself in some part that I love to create characters who are close. I don't know. I relate a lot to them in a way that they are both introverts, and something that I really wanted to push with Swann is to try to showcase introvert people in a more positive way. Like being an introvert is not always like a flaws. It's not always a weakness. It doesn't mean that that you really crave to, I don't know, to be accepted by other people. No, sometimes you can just like to be with yourself, by yourself, and be perfectly happy with it. And we really wanted to showcase that with Swann, both as a teenager and especially also as an adult, to make sure that as she grows up, and that's also why we kept some of the reveal of her body or face at the end of the game. It was just to really make sure that we don't do the trope of, she was a shy introvert, slightly overweight when she was a teenager. And then when she's 40, she has a life with tons of friends and she lost weight, or, we really didn't want that. We really wanted to showcase, no, she's perfectly fine and happy and she's great how she is. But going back to having more direct term of ADHD or neurodivergent, we really never think intentionally of that. My feeling is that, and bear with me with the word I'm using because I'm not good, I'm not scientific with that. I would think that those are a lot of traits that are on a spectrum. And myself, I never did pass a test to see how much on the spectrum am I on some of those traits. Maybe I'm not at all, but maybe I am a bit, and I don't know. And maybe so it's more about making characters that feel like, oh yeah, it's Swann, she's a bit like me. Nora, she's a bit like a friend who maybe has ADHD, but he doesn't know because he never took a test either. So I think that we love those characters which are not exactly like what the social norm is about. And I feel like that a lot of people are on the spectrum of various different personalities without even knowing about it. And we love to create characters that are also diverse and showcasing the reality of the friends we had, the friends we have, the people we met before, without even knowing what kind of specification of we could place on them.
No,
No,
it's
it's interesting.
I was even gonna say it sounds like from what I'm hearing, what you're saying, you're not out here trying to diagnose characters. You are just trying to express your lived experience, whether or not that is in a certain category. And going into like Nora, like going into ADHD, I recently, I like you said, passed the test with flying colors of ADHD.
Yeah, so I guess that's it. And because definitely for Nora, we had aspiration from friends, people we know that are the way I would say that are hyperactives, and
Yeah.
I think it might be close. So definitely
Yeah.
it might be possible. It's just that we
No, you nailed it. Like, quite honestly, with Nora, I felt for Nora because ADHD people can come across as narcissistic, such as interrupting a guest right now while he's speaking because he needs to speak. That can come across as narcissistic. But Nora is just at the same time scared. Nora is very much just trying to cope with the world around her the way she feels, but sometimes that comes across as I liked one scene where it's like Nora likes to show off too much, but that's just how she copes. And I would just want to
yeah.
say, like, you I know it wasn't intentional, but like you nailed like that kind of aptitude.
I think it was intentional that she copes like that. I think that what wasn't intentional is to really say that we are portraying exactly one slice of one spectrum, but more going to try to be more diverse in those characters. And I don't know if that's a good approach, but an approach that I like is to try to not put too much specific words on who are those characters, because for me, people are great because they are people and because they are different. So, and I know that it's also important to know the kind of, I mean, it helps a lot to know that there are other people when you have ADHD, that there are other people who have ADHD and you can recognize each other. But I feel like and share experience and say, oh yeah, I'm not alone with that. But I also feel like that we sometimes don't have to directly put the labels, because it's about the characters and about who they are and about that. If you recognize in her that maybe that she is close to you on some of those specifics, and then that's great already. I don't think we have to directly put the labels to make it work.
And
Yeah.
do you know, on top of that as well, I'm just going to dig into a little bit deeper as well, because the 4 quartet dynamic is really interesting. Because obviously, I was a big fan of Final Fantasy 15 and just how that works. I thought it was amazing. And then obviously, you guys very much delivered with this one. So I'm going to direct this to 2 questions. So I'm going to throw this to you, Luc, first as well. So talking about the quartet, how was that dealing with it? Because obviously, 2 games you worked on, Life is Strange 1 and 2, you had 2 main characters that were working together. And how did you find that, seeing them put 4 characters together behind the scenes and the process of that? And then with you, Michel, as well, I'm going to direct a separate question to you, and you can think about this whilst Luc answers. I found it very interesting because when I spoke to Andrea Cartney, it was one of those light bulb moments. I said to her, like, I find all the dynamics work really well with the characters, and I still do believe that as well. But the one thing that really stood out for me was that in the group, Autumn and Kat interact with each other less compared to other ones. Like Swann will have a connection with Nora, with other characters, but there is a respect there. You can see that they do like each other in certain respects, but they're never there in like one-to-one scenes in most cases and interacting. So I'm just curious, was that intentional, and what was the thought process with that? But I'll let you think whilst I let Luc speak about the quartet dynamic.
So having 4 main characters is more complex than 2. So it starts with the creative part. I think that the work that Jean-Luc and Michel did defining this character, what will be the personalities, the dynamics, most of this part was on the creative, on the creative aspect. And production-wise, it's more complexity because we had 4 characters at 2 different, 2 different timelines. And even if you play only Swann, you couldn't like put the same effort only on Swann because that's a playable character. The animations, the model themselves, the 4 of them had to work. And I think that's one of the key things Michel said at the start of the project. Like, the focus is on the characters, and the biggest feature is the group. Group of 4. So this has an impact on everything, on the VO, the motion capture. I want to give a shout out, to the cast. It's been fantastic, to have them. I always help, a bit on the casting part, but Michel, I think, has improved even, the choices we made, with all these actresses and the whole cast, we've been super happy with that. I've seen you talk with Andrea about this, the casting recall. This is not something we had done on previous projects. Usually it was limited to, some tapes with a script we've written. Here, we had to make it work. Because sometimes, you have past voices overlapping the present and the opposite. It had to be the same actresses. If we had to find sound alike, like for Autumn teenager, Autumn adult, it wouldn't have worked. So we need to find actresses that would play well, actresses, of different age, and there was a need to have chemistry between them. That's why there was the recall, the casting recall. And yeah, Andrea had some great memories about this, or some things she doesn't remember, but it was quite unique to see the dynamics created so fast, and especially, between Nora and Autumn, Andrea and Amelia. It was crazy. All these characters, the importance having them for working was like one of the biggest things for the game. Olivia was, amazing as Swann. It was funny. I recall like some of the first mocap shoots, the way sometimes she acted and was less Swann when she acted and more Swann when she was natural. I remember Phil explaining this to her. And I remember, when she's in the room where she put the mocap suit, and we were obviously not in the room while she changed, but just hearing her voice and speaking. And it was crazy because we could hear Swann like very quickly. And I have a little bit of the ADHD as well. I'm not sure where I'm going with this and what was the question.
It's a struggle, man.
I love to basically I love to see how well this part worked, and they done a fantastic job. And usually the tip for me when I know it's working, what Michel and the actresses and Phil are doing in the studio, is when after the first session, all the upcoming sessions, I just like you close your eyes and you see the character speaking, not the actress, not the actor. You hear like you see Kat moving, you see Nora, you see Swann. You forget the actor behind, and they were so into it that that I'm so proud of what the team did on that.
Yeah, they were amazing, and the four of them were amazing, and also Dylan and Corey. I love the actress and actors we got from them. They're really good. They bring. I mean, playing Corey is not easy, and what Jordan did is, he brought a lot of threatening presence, but still smooth at the same time. That was great. So for your first question about Autumn and Kat, so the way we've always, even at the very early writing stage, thought about Autumn and Kat is that they're the polar opposites. Like for us, both Kat and Autumn, they are competing in a way to be the leader of the quartet, of the group. Like Autumn is more of and that's why we gave her the wolf mask. She's like the wolf mother, not wolf mother. How do you say la louve? But the wolf, the leader of the pack in a way, but protective of the pack. But she's a pragmatist. She's a pragmatist. She's the more adult of the four. She has a job. She has a summer job, and that's her. She would be more like, let's have a nice summer and just think of or next year what we do. Do not put ourselves in danger. She's also black, and there is not a lot of black families in Velvet Cove, so she knows that whatever she does, she is at higher risk than the others also because she's black. And Kat, on the opposite, she is this force of nature that just will drive the group to do things that they would not do if she wasn't there. She's also desperate because of her illness, and she doesn't have anything to lose. So in a way, she's a leader for the group, but with a disputable influence. Like, I mean, we love Kat, and I think we want the player, and they do, to love Kat, to follow her, to help her. But she's also putting everybody in danger. Like, she's not, because she doesn't have anything to lose herself. So she's not thinking too much of what the others have to lose. And she pushes them to just do things that are outside of their comfort zone. So in a way, they are really in opposition. So that's also why they are the less compatible in a way, just for very basic friendship in a similar way. Like they are still slightly at odds sometimes. And I think that's why we didn't really showcase any strong scene. We still have hint of how they respect each other. Like Kat, she respects a lot the maturity of Autumn and what she stands for. Autumn, she respects and she cares a lot about Kat. That's why she cares so much about her, that also she possibly is calling Dylan and Corey to say that she's putting herself too much in danger and that they need to do, I mean, she calling the parents, but that's Corey who listened to the message, but that they need to help Kat because she might just do too much for her body and with her condition. So, and that's what you can read in Kat's final letter in the book. Like she understood all that, and they are basically talking through those letters from a very high, respectful, mutual standpoint. But that was not the same strength as you can have very stronger friendship link that are much more on the instant with Nora or with Swann. Yeah.
No, it's interesting because obviously, like the 4 character dynamic is very difficult to work, and you guys are well aware of that. And I've seen it in other games as well. I think like, you know, as much I think Final Fantasy 15 was stuck in development, how those 4 characters really carried that story and kept it together, that camaraderie between the boys. So it's really interesting to see your perspective on that. And I'm just going to go to Patreon here as well, because this is from Clare McLoughlin. It's for both of you as well. So it's, what are some of your favorite memories at Don't Nod Montreal, and also favorite memories of Lost Records' creation?
I have one strong one already while you think about your first, Michel. To me, that was Don't Nod Montreal memory, but in Germany. It's the Gamescom last year, because on Life is Strange 1, we had this very strong memory of the first game was introduced to the press in 2014, you know, more than 6 months before the release, where we played, you know, the game 2 people. There was really something special with how the room was made, like recreated, like, you know, like a small closed room with the bed and people sitting on bed, you know, on the ground to play the game with posters and stuff. And so last year we had a demo, you know, for the game, like a little part of the tape 1 that journalists had played, and then they came to ask us questions in this room that was created to look like Nora's garage a bit. So the team in Germany did a fantastic job, you know, grabbing props and, you know, an old VCR TV, an old CRT TV, and old furniture items from the 90s, and the discussing about the game in this room with people, you know, who really captured, you know, what was the game about. You know, they were mentioning the contact with the object, like strong intention we had for the game since the beginning. You know, the camcorder when you look around it, like the sound, everything. And we Cathy, the producer, was here, Michel, obviously, Jean-Luc, Marin, and we're in this room. It was such like the first time you reveal the game to the public, you know, and you talk about it, it's really a special memory. And just a funny story, you know, I remember Michel not being super happy at first with the posters that were too clean, and we asked, you know, people to wrinkle it because it had to look like a used garage. And at the end of the day, the first day was great, and there was, you know, a cleaning person, you know, with a vacuum cleaner, and I said, no, don't vacuum the room. And like you had cans of Coke, you know, from people who drank Coke from that were from the fridge. I said, no, don't throw it away. We're gonna leave this. Each day it's gonna look more and more like Nora's garage, and it was working. Like you could feel something happening. And same as for the first Life is Strange, you don't know what will be the success or not of the game, but you know that some people will react to this because something was going on, you know, in the room that day, and the discussion we have with people who play the game. So that would be my first great memory.
So for me, there is a lot, but I think something that I was really surprised. I mean, there is so many things, but one first is when we are just doing some writing tests and for the game is when so I love the work that from Nina Freeman, who worked with us as our lead narrative designer. I loved her previous games that she did as an indie developer, what she worked on with Fulbright on Tacoma. And when we did the writer's test, I don't remember. I think I contacted her and she was like, "Oh yeah, I would love to do the test." And when we received her test, and then we say, "Oh yeah, she's great," and when she accepted to work with us, I was very happy because I loved what she did. And then seeing that how well it worked to work with her on this game for the dialogue design, writing of the characters, finding the voice for the character, I think it was I'm really proud and I was extremely happy to be able to work with her. And I had the same kind of feeling, you know, when we having the opportunity to work with Ruth Radelet. This is a kind of creative talent that I admire a lot.
Was waiting.
Yeah. I don't. I'm sorry. just a black shirt. Working with them because I'm loving and respecting so much the work they do and the creative work they do, and having the opportunity to work on this game with them, having them to bring their own creativity within what we are creating here was really, really awesome. And of course, there is so many great people that work with us on this project. I don't want to just isolate them, but kind of some of the highlights I wanted to talk about. And more of a solo memory, I can go back to 2019 is right after PAX East for Life is Strange 2. I went for a very small vacation alone for 1 week in the Olympic National Park in Washington. Mm-hmm. And that's where, as I was just camping and just doing vacation stuff, that's where I was starting to write the very first ideas for some of the games. And I remember that I saw somewhere a very small food truck, ice cream truck with someone working there that clearly felt like a student working there during the summer break. And that's how I was writing a note like, oh yeah, Autumn, she should. I didn't know it was Autumn yet. I think my note was like, one of the 4 girls should have a summer job. And that's where some of the friends always gather to be together. Oh, yeah, I remember that.
That's so cool. Yeah. We were talking about like Nina and Ruth Radelet, and yeah, we knew Nina Freeman like already, but knowing she would work on the project was super exciting. But Ruth Radelet was the same, Milk and Bone, being able to work with these people, but we had a lot of help. So basically we had this core from the Life is Strange team coming with us to Montreal, but also people we hired because they wanted to make this kind of game. It's not like people who are already at Don't Nod and worked, on a RPG game and had to work on an RPG game. This is people who joined us to make this kind of game. So that's why we're super proud of this Don't Nod Montreal team. But also we had some help, Phil Bache, I say Bache, it's back, Phil Bache, who at first we didn't work with him, like because he was in LA, we had the VO and mocap shoot in Montreal, it was not convenient, but after a while we said, okay, we have to work with him, like we need his magic. We brought him back on the project. Even like some people who helped us for a while, Ronan, I'm talking about Ronan Coiffec. Ronan was one of the 4 people at the origin of the first, Life is Strange game, with just Michel, Raoul, Jean-Luc, Ronan. There was a small group of people, and Ronan then left Don't Nod, made his own studio, worked on Great Game, Under the Waves, and other games like that. And we met at Gamescom last year. He said, okay, if you need help, like I have some time at the moment, let me know. And he helped, work on cinematic. He's amazing. And we had like a lot of people who helped for a bit, and some people helped from Paris at some point. Like it felt great to see, the project growing and taking shape, and, with the help of so many cool people. That's why we're excited for what's coming next, with this Montreal team and all the people we enjoyed working with.
Could I ask you as well in between that? Because obviously Ruth Radelet was a big person that you wanted to get involved with this project, but then it sounds like she went and got Nat Walker and Adam Miller to get involved in the project. What was it like seeing that? Because it seems like you were after Ruth just to get her, because that was like kind of the option, and Chromatics had broken up at that point. But then for her to go and get 2 of the other 4 members of Chromatics in that carnation.
That was magical.
That was crazy. That was so cool. So I would say that Chromatics and Beach House are 2 of my favorite bands ever. So we have 2 tracks from Beach House in the game, and a lot of tracks from Ruth Radelet plus 2 other members of Chromatics, which was just crazy and so cool. But yeah, I think we wanted to contact Chromatics for the game, but then we saw this year that, oh damn, they split. And we saw that Ruth was starting to do a solo project. So that's why I think that Luc, you said we should maybe try to contact her just in case.
I contacted her on Twitter, like, hey, we're doing a video game. Are you available? And she said, yes. I sent to Michel, I know, like, he loved Chromatics. And the first mood trailer he did for the game, was with a Chromatics track. Yeah. And so I said to Michel,
and we had this call, like she was just her in our home, and we had a team chat with her. Like it was so
a bit starstruck,
cool and weird, but really cool. Like she didn't have any agent with her; it was just her.
And I think she's the one who said like she would like help from Nat and Adam, like the other, and of course. And to us, it was crazy good news. Yeah.
No, like
just a message away sometimes, from things like that. Beach House never answered, by the way, if they listened to us. We sent a message long ago to Beach House, but they never got an answer.
Yeah. But maybe it was filtered by their management, or I don't know.
Yeah.
No,
another game.
That's the thing. Like sometimes communication just gets lost in the wayside. So that one band I suggested to you, Luke, the Bullies, I tried to email them just saying like, dude, this was amazing, but like it never got back. I don't know if the email got canceled or like whatnot, but yeah, internet, man, it's
Yeah.
not even reliable anymore.
Yeah, you never know if it reached the right person. I don't know if this is the story. It's not last record, sorry, Adnan, but it's a short story of a big disappointment, I want to say. On Captain Spirit, which we all love and too much people forget it exists. On Captain Spirit, there was this scene where Chris is listening to a vinyl, you know, on his on the bed, you know, in his parents' house, and we have a great song, but at first it was another song from, you know, Bruce Springsteen. And it worked so well with the scene. We've like Raoul spent a lot of time editing the scene, making it work. And we were assuming, because we had success like this in the past, like writing a letter explaining your intention would help. But yeah, we never managed to get the right to use the song. Basically, it wasn't like the management was not okay to have like video game, you know, to use the music for a video game. But we were sure, like if we had prepared a video, I don't know if he had seen it or if it didn't reach him, but I'm sure that if he would have seen it, he would have understood that it was a great thing to have this song in the game. So small frustration I wanted to mention.
But I really love the song we have as a replacement. So.
Yeah.
We also
it was I'm pretty sure that like you're right. Maybe the letters, everything we prepared never directly reached him. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maroon will have to go into your Spotify playlist earlier next time to make sure he gets all the tracks, because we've heard that a little bit of thing from him. But no, it's all very interesting to hear like the experience you guys had, and I want to kind of pull something out earlier that you talked about as well, Michel, which was obviously Jordan Dawson working as Corey, spoke to the actors. It's really interesting to hear that, and then obviously. It was a bit of a surprise because, like, me and Adam maybe thought at one point we thought he might be like a Dave Madsen character, Frank Bowers, where it might be a bit of a switch, where we think he's just a complete, you know, bad guy and he might have a bit of a layered complex. But you went down the full antagonistic route with him. I'm just curious, was that always the plan with Corey for him to be the full-blown main antagonist? And is it kind of a bit of a homage to the 90s horror villains? Because he gives me big Billy Loomis vibes from Scream for some reason, and I just wonder if that was the kind of intention to make him the 90s bully that you'd see in a Stephen King book, maybe. Well,
I would say yes, it was. I feel like, so Billy Loomis is a good reference. We also had the reference from, you know, the Maxine's brothers in Stranger Things. What's the name of the character already? So you see the guy. I mean, this guy has a redemption at the very end, but it's still a bad guy almost all the time. I think we still wanted to have Corey be still a bad guy, the antagonist, but with slight shades of gray, of course, because you can still see him when he has to provide for the family. He's there. I mean, he's there to try to help Kat at the end of tape 1, because that's the right thing to do as a man who should be caring for the sister of your future wife. I mean, you have to take charge and be there. And that's the way we wanted to try to work on Corey. Like, there are, of course, also pressures from society on, and also even more in the 90s, on men to be the caregivers, to be there, to have a wife, to have a future, to have a status, to work hard, to be recognized for what you do. So we also wanted to put some of that, but he's a very also insecure character who just doesn't want to lose control, want to have the feeling of being in control, which is what is taught to men, that you need to be in control, basically. So we tried to push for that, and then to push also with what the Abyss does. Is the Abyss is basically pushing the buttons further to what you already are. So some of what's happening at the end around the Abyss is helping the girls get their rage out. What they need to say needs to be said. So the Abyss is helping them, but the Abyss is also strengthening the rage and the bad, very, very bad side of Corey, the violence and actually the fact that he's so insecure that he gets very violent about it. So, but yeah, I think we didn't want to have a redemption. I don't know, because that's something. For example, I really love Breaking Bad, but I feel like there shouldn't have been a redemption arc for Walter White at the very end of Breaking Bad. I mean, he is a bad guy. He is the villain. He is already, if you rewatch the TV show, he is already manipulative and abusive even before he starts to be Heisenberg. Even in the first season, I mean, you love this kind of character, and but he is a bad guy. It's kind of the same thing with Tony Soprano. You know, there has been so many TV shows of violent male figures that are in a way shown like, oh, but they have their reasons, and look, it's the anti-hero, but they are still a good guy down there.
Yeah.
And we didn't want to do that with Corey. We still wanted to know. I mean, we don't want to give him a full redemption because he still did a lot of things that should maybe, at least it's not our job to forgive him that. So that was the idea.
Okay.
And he was very 90s coded, by the way. Very congratulations on like a very 90s coded bully.
So Michel, Luc, I'm going to cut back to the Patreon questions and go for our final Patreon submitted questions. So thank you to everyone who's submitted. So I'm going to go to Kevin Lackner here, and it's this for both of you. So Luc and Michel, thank you for this beautiful game. It's a big honor to ask, how did you come up with the characters and the central theme of the story? What inspired these locations that make the game feel so alive?
It's a huge question. That's basically the question is like, what was the 4 years of game development? How do I sum that up in a very short answer? I think that when we start to create a project, it's a lot of pieces that we have to move together. Like, what is the vibe? What is the theme? What is the story? Who are the characters? And then everything is starting to feed everything, and then you change and you adjust. Because the thing I like to say is that, especially in an interactive game, I feel like the game will be as good as its characters. If you don't have great characters, you don't have a good plot. You could have a good plot, but with bad characters, it won't work. So characters are really what makes or kill the game. So I think that when we started to create the game, it was right after Life is Strange 2, and we were at the beginning of the pandemic, we were really working on what the game will be.
Yeah.
So we were knowing that, okay, we made games with 2 characters before, and there is this notion of friendship that was getting started harder to get connection, during the pandemic. So it was also this idea of, oh, we'd love to work on a group of characters. And of course, we love works from Stephen King with It, or shows like Stranger Things, ensemble cast that we felt like something we would love to do, to just also break apart from the idea of playing a two character game. So we knew that we had this idea. We wanted to talk also about adults. So we have this idea of having 2 timelines, having a group of friends today who are sharing a secret and who have to go back in the past in their memories to elucidate this secret. Then that's when I was thinking, in terms of interactivity, we should really work with that. Like, you are telling the story from 2 different points of view, but then you are rewriting the story as you alternate between those 2. Like, what you say in the present, the discussion is still recreate part of the story, and the way you're playing the memories, it also recreates the story. And then as we advance, we kind of find out, okay, what are the characters the story want to tell? What is the setting? Then the setting is also feeding into the characters, etc. And I think in the end, that's how we end up to where we are.
Yeah.
So
over the course of 4
it's a lot of iterations. Yeah.
Yeah. That's insane.
So I'll direct this question to Luc mainly because obviously, Michel, you've answered this. But this is from Jake Churchill, and they were asking about, oh, nice. I love the atmosphere of Velvet Cove. As someone from the UK who knows very little about the US, I'd love if you ask the guys, if you ask Michel and Luc what inspired them to set the story in Michigan. Look forward to watching this. So obviously, Michel, I know you've spoken about Velvet Cove and the inspiration, but Luc, I just wanted to know your perspective on like this, because obviously you've known Michel for many years. You worked on Life is Strange 1 and 2. You've seen the American settings. You've traveled to America. What was your vibe like when we're going to be like, we're going to go to Michigan, we're setting this in Velvet Cove, and what you made of that kind of like area? And did you fight for Pennsylvania as well? Just or did you fight for that area just to make Adam happy?
Yeah.
So this is really on Michel's side. I like the fact, and I liked quite early when they mentioned the idea to not do this in the Pacific Northwest, like the change, like what it would bring. And one of the key aspects Michel mentioned earlier was the liminal aspect of the game, and the vibe we had, from the first exploratory work that's usually done, with Google Maps and pictures from different places. They try to find the area that will kind of give the vibe we need, and it worked really well with this area of Michigan. We had the forest, the small towns, but basically the biggest impact was this liminal things. We're jumping into memories, like we are back, in the playground, back at the movie palace. have no idea. It's like you remember, Alice in Wonderland. It's like a small lit area with everything is black around. You're not sure this magical vibe. I think it will not have worked in the Pacific Northwest because we already used it in a certain way, and here it was the great location, to have this kind of new environment. And I think you hesitated, Michel, with Canada, finding a right place in Canada, but in the end, it
Yeah,
worked more with
we
this
wanted
place.
to look. I mean, it could have worked. I think we wanted to look also in some small towns in Ontario, so just on the other side of the lake. In the end, that's where Swann is living today as an adult. And I think we still decided to use the United States. I think on my side, and maybe I don't know if that's warranted or not, but I like the universality of a small town in the United States. There is a lot of very iconic cliche in a way, but that works, that we can use. And we could have done it in Canada, but we know that less because we grew up with a TV show from the 90s from the United States, so we can also grab some of those references, those images, something that is, I would say, more universally known for good or bad reasons. But still, I feel like the US have a more universal appeal for that, and we could still talk about Canada by having Swann being on the other side. But it could have worked really well being in Ontario, I think.
All very interesting, and it's fascinating to hear this. And obviously, I'm very conscious of time, so we've had you for ages, and we didn't expect this, but thank you so much for that. Two final questions, one Patreon, then the final one. This is from Clark's. This is for both of you. Is there anything you can share with us during this interview that you've never shared in an interview before, be it about Life is Strange 2, or Lost Records?
Or your little toes,
I think the hardest part with this question is remembering,
knowing
what we said or did or never said. I don't know.
And what you're allowed to say.
I'm just trying to think of something. I know that I never said that, if you remember the name Pompidou for the dog in Life is Strange. I think it was Christian Divine who came up with the name, and we were like, but are you sure you want to use a French name? Because then people would say, oh, you're a French studio, you're using a French name for the dog. Which was like, yeah, we should do that. We should use a French name.
Yeah.
And same thing, that's him who came up with the line of that Final Fantasy, The Spirit Within is the best movie ever.
Nice.
But sci-fi movie ever, that's what he said. It wasn't Square Enix who asked, it wasn't us. I still enjoy the movie, but I find it funny anyway. That Max would say that.
Nice.
Luke's cooking.
I usually have tons of stories. I feel bad because nothing pops up in my mind that I haven't already said. Something will come up. I'll send you a tweet or something on Blue Sky. I found the story. But
what else can I say that I? Oh yeah, you have something. Go ahead.
I can sabotage in case one day you speak to our art director, Sam Bradley. There was a funny story with him, something he didn't say to us during his interviews with us because he didn't want to sound like a fanboy, but he has a dog called Mushroom because of Life is Strange. And he only admitted this later to us because he didn't want to use it like hire me, I have my dog named Mushroom, but I found this funny.
Oh my God.
As a choice.
Yeah.
He's very funny, Sam Bradley. I'm sure we'll cross paths. I know that he's a Shadow stan.
Yes.
I've seen him vote in the polls
you
that we
need
both put. And it's like all about Team Shadow, and I'm like, thumbs up, Sam
You need
Bradley.
to speak to him, to Nina, to a lot of people. Yes. And Phil, I will be super excited because Phil is a character. Like I know everyone, all the actresses who talked about him. He's a very special guy. We love him. But it will be a crazy episode if you have that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he will be mad that I say that. So we never said that. For some of the last VO sessions for Lost Records, it was during the big fires in Los Angeles. So for one of the session, we were unsure, like, Phil, how is it okay for you? And then he comes at the session and he's inside a bathroom. So where are you? And basically, he was inside the shower of a bathroom, and he said, "We are in a hotel because we had to move away because of the fumes in LA." Mm-hmm. And then the Wi-Fi is terrible, but I have a okay Wi-Fi in the bathroom of my hotel room, and he directed the whole session from a shapeshift desk. Yeah,
what?
Exactly like that.
What?
In a bathtub.
That's great.
That's
That's
amazing.
great. It's funny as well because when I spoke to Victoria Diamond, she said like I'd let go because like he was commanding certain things. I was like, it's funny because you didn't know who he was before this, but you're never going to forget him now. Like he leaves a big impression on people, and I'm glad that you guys got to
He
work
leaves
with
an
him.
impression on people. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
He
glad that
always
you
tell a
guys got to work
story
with
like
him.
he will always speak about Star Wars, Indiana Jones, and
Mm,
these movies, and this have like very different opinion as us or Michel, about movies and stuff. But he's always a great guy to work with. Like the good thing with him, I remember the first session we had, with the voice director on the first Life is Strange. He was like, there was a 9 hours time difference from Paris to LA. It was the first time we did that. So we were on Skype, the session starts, and I remember like, Michel about to press on space to unmute himself and give a feedback. And we had this guy who just had read some document, asked few questions, like giving instruction to the actor or the actress, I don't remember who it was at the time, just to change the line. And it was basically what Michel was going to say. And he was so fast, so quick to understand, find stuff that work or didn't work, that for Michel it was just a question of giving more context when it's needed. But he was so quick to understand like profound emotion or situation with so little context. I've always been amazed by that, and it just compensates the different taste I have in candies and and food and movies. But he's a
Especially
great
in
guy.
food, but yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's very
Yeah.
cool. And obviously, thank you again for your time. So, final question here. I even said to Adam, if you want to hear this question, I'll tell him, but he didn't want to know. So, it's the easiest question. So obviously, Luc, you've been at Don't Nod for 16 years. You celebrated your 16th anniversary earlier this year, which is amazing. Michel, you've been there for 17, I think 2008 when you started as a freelancer. So many, many years, obviously worked on Remember Me, a bit more of a different roles as well. And then obviously came close with Life is Strange, came close with Life is Strange 2, Captain Spirit, and even closer now, obviously, as, big chief executives of your studio. So there's a lot of history there. And I always like to make my podcast as much as personal as possible. And then on top of that as well, with this question, I did steal it, but I think it's one of the best questions I've ever heard. So I'll let either of you decide to answer this. What's one thing that you deeply admire about the other person, but you never actually told them?
We already almost said some of that at the beginning when we were talking about how
Yep.
we saw each other
You
grow
almost
up
said it, but
during
you're
those
like,
years.
no emotions here. I'm not going to but now you're forced to say how
My
much you love
heart,
each other.
my heart dropped as well when
Oh,
you said that,
Yeah.
Adam. When he said it earlier, I thought,
something I haven't said, and because I give a lot of compliments about Michel all the time. So, but I think this one I didn't say. I was impressed because she talked earlier about Swann being an introvert, and I must admit, pre COVID-19 and people isolated and introvert people enjoying some aspects of it, despite the horrible part, but the isolation was not impacting the same way. Through discussion with Michel and with my wife, I discovered she was an introvert, and introvert doesn't mean shy. I learned a lot about this. But Michel told me, like, I realized he was, despite this, like how courageous he was, like, in a lot of situations, speaking to large audience about stuff, like being able to address some critical things, critical discussion, like just being able to, despite some, like the introvert part, having the courage in some aspects to just point something that needs to change, need to be improved, and like being able to speak in situation where I think it's hard for myself. That's always something that impressed me. It's like we're balancing ourselves. Like sometimes when I'm not courageous enough, he's doing the part, and I feel like sometimes I'm helping, like when it's the opposite. And it always impressed me how he managed to compensate where it needs to be compensated, I think.
Thanks. So what could I say? So maybe that's more a jokey way to say it, but something great about Luc is that after 17 years, I'm still working with him and I still like to work with him, which is not a lot of people.
Yeah.
So it means that
I see
it
it.
works really well and that he's doing an awesome job. But more seriously, I think that the great thing with Luc, and maybe we already told him, or I already told him, and I don't know, is that, in the company, in the team, is really always the heart of the team. Like, he's really the social link that, myself, I can be sometimes very cold, I can be distant, I'm more an introvert, so I'm not always socializing, and I can be more distant from people. But Luc is really close to people and brings the team together, and he really managed to make things continue and advance. And I feel like in a lot of time, without him, maybe on different projects, the teams could have sometimes collapsed because, making games is hard. And when you're in a stressful situation and in a part where you need just to deliver, it's even harder to, to really maintain this human link between people. So,
Nice.
No, I like hearing that. And it brings a human element to the podcast. So I think we'll wrap up here because obviously we've had you for so much time, and thank you again for that as well. And a big thank you from me.
There's a special guest. So a special guest.
Oh, yes. You and Kat's like, no, we've had enough of the podcast. Done.
Yes, that's the it's so cool. It's a great
that's Pippin, and he was the main inspiration for Pumpkin.
Yes, perfect. That's, I think, the best way to end this. But obviously, thank you so much for, obviously, I've followed your work for so many years, and I think people sometimes underestimate this channel would never exist if you didn't make the games that you did. Like, neither of the podcasts would exist. I would never have come back into this field, and me and Adam would never have met, and me and my co-host Abby would never met. So again, it's a massive thank you from me, because like I think the knock-on effect that you had on my life, I never would have entered journalism had it not been for Life is Strange. So a big thank you for the work that you do, and many more years with Don't Nod Montreal, Lost Records, and many other things you guys can work on. So I think we'll wrap up here. So Michel, Luc, thank you so much for that, and obviously I hope you all enjoyed.
Can I add something as well?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Sorry, I just wanted to thank you both as well. Like, it's really funny. Like, sometimes Michel was answering questions I hadn't heard the answer, and I was I've seen you guys so much with your backgrounds, your mic, and it felt I forgot at some point I was participating. I was feeling like I was watching the podcast, and I realized, oh shit, I'm part of it. I hope I did a good stuff. So it's really great. Like, you produce so much content, based on, your passion for our games, also the, Decline, all these kind of games. Your support for that is amazing. The passion you put in it, and both of you, like not just one of you, the way you ask questions, your intuition sometimes, when you talk about the games, when it was just announced, I told you that at some point, I think you mentioned like the game could be a reunion of people, and reunion it could be a cool thing, like we never said, but reunion is the code name of the game. So you guys mentioned a reunion. I was like, what the fuck? And it could be 2 characters or maybe like more and stuff. And I was like, okay, they are really accurate. So you do a great job. Like I've heard, the cast, most of the cast speaking, and I learned stuff about like their experience with the game, your instincts about the industry, your feedbacks. It's really great to hear. So I'm really enjoying your content. I was saying earlier, I've seen you more than you've seen like the length of Life is Strange plus Lost Record games. Like, I've seen more content of you that you've seen content from us. So I'm really impressed by that. And I feel like there's so much to discuss there, what we can say officially, but I would dream about like being in a chalet, having 2 days with drinks, just the 4 of us, maybe Jean-Luc, other guys, just to say everything we cannot say on the record, all the, the
off the record,
the crazy. I would love at some point at least have more time to spend you guys and discuss more about the industry, games, and everything. I think we need that. Well, thank you.
No, thank you so much. It's everything Luc said is I think the same. Like it's also for people like you that we are making those games and seeing that those games have worked so much on you and that you want to talk about it. It helps us a lot to continue making games.
We appreciate it, and even Luc said that as well. Like, I could honestly turn this into a 40-hour podcast because there's so many questions to ask both of you because of how far your life has gone. I think both personally and also, making games. I think your personal lives are as interesting as making the games, which is what we always like to add with the podcast, the human element. And I think that's one of the things people don't see with the Lost Records actors. Some of them come on with like a bit of caution, being like, I haven't played the game. I'm like, that's not important. It's about you and what you think of the game and how you did things. So I think it's valuable to know that you guys also find information about the actors in those podcasts. So it is perfect. And Adam, I think you're about to say something before I was wrap up. I interrupted.
No, I was even going to add that like you two have like really affected my life entirely. I mean, 2015 was definitely a rough year in my life. So when Life is Strange came out, that really it really did impact me like a whole lot. Like made me go through. It was right before the year I was about to get married, and I was like struggling, like, what do I do? Like, how do I like transition from dating into marriage? And actually, it was the first game me and my wife played together. She was
Oh,
saying like
cool. That's
everything I was
nice.
doing
That's
wrong. She's like saying like, no, that's not how we're supposed to talk. I'm like, I don't know what we're doing. So it really made us connect as a married couple. So yeah, like Adnan mentioned, without your games, me and him wouldn't have met. So I don't know if it's a curse or a blessing. So I don't know. But no,
Could be
like,
both.
it could be
Yeah.
both. I think it's a blessing and a curse. But no, really, since we're going around, like, thank you guys for continuing to do your work. It affects not just me or Adnan, it affects the entire community. I'm sure if you go into the comments of this very video, I'm sure there's gonna be comments flooded with how much you impacted like the community of Life is Strange. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
And I think it is a blessing and curse for Adam because he doesn't sleep at 7 o'clock anymore because of when we record the podcast.
I wake up at 6 a.m. for this podcast. Yeah,
The commitment to the cause. But I think we'll just wrap up here though anyway. But thank you for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. If you are new here, one more time, please do consider dropping subscribe on the channel, turn notifications, like the video, share your friends. Help support channel helps keep up to date with the channel, and the Lost Records journal is available on all podcast services. You can check out on Spotify with a video version. Apple Podcasts are available on everything, so go and check it out. Rate us, download us, could get incredible interviews like this one with Michel and Luc. Michel, Luc, one more time, thank you so much. It's been an honor following your work. It's been an honor doing the interview, speaking to you about all this kind of stuff, and I'm sure we'll cross paths in the future, no doubt, at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Thanks.
Okay, we'll wrap up here. Take care, guys. See you later. Bye.
Thank you so much. Thanks again.